Wood is en route from Spanaway, and he would prefer to not do it while he's driving, which we all appreciate the safety of that. So he will log in when he gets off the road and hopefully be here for any action item that we have.
No action item.
But there are no action items other than to approve the agenda. So I think we're in a fine place. Kathy, are you ready to support us? The thing I asked. Brianna, are you ready to put up the flag?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there we go, Kathy.
Okay, yes, I am ready.
Okay, we did have Councilmember DePinto on. We're going to be able to come back on here. We can start the meeting.
What about Molly?
I haven't heard from Molly. So at the point that we are, rather than start the meeting, I really can't do that without an active quorum. And I only have 3, unless Councilmember DePinto will come back on video and attest to his presence. Oh, there's Molly.
She's upside down.
You're kind of sideways, Molly. I've never seen that happen before. Okay, Holly and Terry, fix your laptop so that we can all look at Molly.
Oh, you guys are making me dizzy.
We can't hear you yet, Molly. There we go. All is right with the world. Okay, council, since we do, now, Molly, can we do a sound check, please?
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, since we do have an actual quorum of people live, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. We'll do so in our usual manner by doing a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Find a flag near you, if you will, or view the one on screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember James Blair. Councilmember Molly Carmody.
Here.
Councilmember EJ Curry.
Here.
Councilmember Holly Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Wood. Councilmember Joe DePinto. Might be frozen. Councilmember Terry Kaminsky.
Here.
Mayor J.W. Foster.
Here. I see that as for the record, Councilmember Blair called in prior to the start of the meeting. He will not be here, an excused absence. Councilmember Wood will be joining us here shortly. And then Councilmember DePinto appears to have some connection issues. He's here on the screen. Oh, maybe he's fixed it.
We can't hear him.
And we'll assume that he is going to correct those things and be a part of the meeting. So, oh, there he is again. So Joe, just so you know, we're having some issues seeing and hearing you, but we do have a quorum with or without you. So we'll go ahead and continue with our agenda, which is agenda approval, please.
Move to approve the agenda for the September 14th meeting.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Curry, seconded by Councilmember Carmody. All in favor? Nope. Councilmember Kaminsky? Thank you, Terry. It really, I try, but it's really helpful if you say your name clearly for me. I'm sorry. So all in favor?
Aye.
Special presentations, we have none. Public comments, I'm going to take a moment. We don't have anybody in the actual audience here at City Hall. I will go to the Zoom and see if anybody from our audience attendees are raising their hand. I see that Josh Crossman joined us. And at this point, I don't see any hands raised or Q&A for people to comment from the public. So we'll say that we don't have any public comment for tonight's meeting. We don't have a consent agenda, and I believe all of the vouchers have been signed for the past council meeting. So yay, we don't have those to worry about. And so we'll move on to our new business, which is 6A, contract for legal services. And Michael Graham will lead us through this discussion, first reading.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. I won't bore you with the details because you've talked about this in your finance committee and we had the update at the last study session. What you got last time at the study session was an overview where we've been, where we're going, and the next steps. As you requested, we have essentially two contracts in there for legal services, one for the city attorney side of things and one for the prosecutorial side of things. It was requested that we break these into two because even though we have the services provided by one attorney now, council has set forth a time frame to continue these services till a determined date, do an RFP, and then obviously revisit the contract or contracts at a later date. So before you is now both contracts. What I will be doing, our attorney sent in a couple of edits today, and we heard from Councilmember Carmody who caught a couple of edits, and so I will have an updated draft. I've just been in back-to-back meetings today, haven't had time to do that, but I will have an updated draft out to you tonight, just so that you can continue looking at it and consider it. Understanding that this is only a first reading and new business, you will take this up for action if you choose to at the second reading or old business next meeting, and the updated packet will go out. We'll send out the contracts tonight. I'll get time after this meeting to send that out to you in a red line version, and then you'll get the new packet for the council meeting and take action there if you want to. I just want to pause real quick and just hit some of the highlights that we received so far of corrected changes. The attorney recommended eliminating in the fee or rate for services. There was option 1 and option 2. He recommended just eliminating that. The retainer was an old way of doing business, which is why we had it in there as an option. His recommendation was just eliminate it and go with the direction that the city has currently set, which the finance committee reviewed and the council approved in the budget. So I have that redlined based on his recommendation. He also encouraged us to add Appendix A, which was in your council packet, which was the recommendation to the finance committee, which has the table of the rates. It was a nice succinct table, and then making that an appendix that's referenced in both of these contracts, which then also ties in with the budget, which is the council's purview to adopt. The other catches were, I did not, when I separated them out, I did not catch all of the prosecutorial movements in separating them. And so Councilmember Carmody caught a couple of those. We need to remove the prosecutor reference in the legal services. There was one that we didn't pull out, and then had some clarifying language adding that the prosecutorial language will not be part of the services provided by legal services. So it just draws that bright line. It was a good catch. That's the summary of the changes that I have so far. And so really, I'll just leave the rest of the time to you. If there's any other feedback, edits, questions that you have, let me know, and I'll go take that back and put that in the red line version and push that out to you again. Councilmember Carmody?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for responding to our edits. I think that these all look pretty good. I propose that we push this out to the next meeting for final approval.
That is how it is agended to go. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. So do I need a formal motion for that? I don't think I do.
Nope. No, any motion that you would take would be to supersede that normal process and move to approve it tonight, but that's not what you intended to do.
Right, let's just put it out to the next meeting and make sure that all of those corrections are in there, and then let's go from there.
Perfect.
Right, thanks.
And I'll send you the redlined version tonight. And in your packet, it'll have the version with all those edits accepted. So between when I send those out, we push out the packet. If there's any other errors, corrections, clarifications that you want, let us know and we'll put that in there. That way you won't get the redline version twice. You'll get the redline version now and then the final version when your packet comes out for that meeting. Anything else to consider in this?
Right, you know where to find it, Michael, if you do. Give it a third reason. There's 25 pages of contract there, so it's hard to slog through the whole thing. Good to catch those things though before we redline them, or before we pass it. So
Okay. Thank you, Council.
thank you, Michael. All right. We are now moving into old business, of which we have none scheduled. And so we'll move right into council member updates, but we'll start with Michael Graham, then the council member, then me.
I just have 5 quick points that I want to share with you, and then I'll put this in one of my regular city administrator updates, and I'll send it out to you in writing, so I won't bore you with the details, but really for the benefit of those watching on TV, a couple of things. One, our passports are back on track. There was a time where we were scheduling them a couple months out. We are now scheduling the next day. So amazing drop in the interest of coming to Yelm. We think that's because a lot of those other folks, either we've taken care of them because we were the only game in town, and now we're not the only game in town. Other passport agencies, entities have started to open up. So that's positive. We can serve customers much faster than we could earlier. The downside is the federal government has not caught up and you're still looking 12 weeks out for a new passport. So, and that's for the expedited version. So if folks want a passport, they have interest, come in and see us, make an appointment, drop in. But just know that on the processing side from the federal government, it's still going to take about 12 weeks. The Arts Commission had their first meeting. I just want to report out, they actually had 2 now, and they were really excited to start the brainstorming session, start the annual report that we talked about, where they'll actually develop their work plan and then they'll come back and present to the council. And they've got some really neat ideas for essentially coming up with some ideas to how to fund the services and the art, but then they've also got some cool ideas for sculptures that they want to put throughout the community. So great momentum there from the commission that was established and now is fully supported and staffed with volunteers and staff from Kathy's team. So thanks to Kathy. Cochran Park, the phase 1 of the restoration is completed. And that will be done, final, put to bed, and reopened on September 30th. We are going to have some sort of opening for that. I think it's really important for us to at least have a celebration where we open the gates and appreciate the hard work of the staff that made that possible. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing, from the new bathroom, the new bridge, and then of course the functionality of everything behind it. So stay tuned for that, but September 30th, that will be open. The last thing I wanted to touch base with you on, actually 2 more things. One is you requested that WASDOT come back and continue the conversation of your last meeting. Bill Elliott will do that at your next study session. So stay tuned for that. He's gonna have more information. I know the Public Works Committee just got a briefing and some of the updates and information on the engineering and reasoning behind it. Bill's gonna come back from WASDOT, provide that to all of you and continue that conversation as a whole council. So more information to come at your next study session. And then last, just wanted to update you. Negotiations continue. We're only negotiating with the Teamsters now, as we've reported to you and got your feedback on policy issues. That's been the primary focus. The next phase has been complete, which we talked about in executive session, but it's not a secret. We looked at what our comparable cities are. Those cities have been defined, and we're looking at the positions and other factors there just to make sure that we're still competitive in the market. We'll do that analysis and put it into a long-term revenue forecast so that we can look at that in light of the total cost of compensation to make sure we stay on track with your financial policies. We plan to come back and have an executive session on the next study session, I believe, And that'll be a longer meeting, but just wanted to prime the pump so that you come ready. We're gonna give you a lot of data. We're gonna walk through the comparables. We're gonna walk through the findings, and then we're gonna ask you to set parameters for those negotiations, which is, you know, your right and your responsibility as council. So those conversations continue. And we're working on setting dates with the FOP. And I don't think we've heard from AFSCME yet. But Teamsters are the primary group that we're negotiating with, setting dates with FOP. And then we'll continue those conversations with AFSCME. But just plan ahead for a long executive session where we go over the financial information, the comparables, and then you get your guidance for the parameters of those negotiations as they continue. So that concludes my update. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I see that Cody is on board. This would be a great opportunity for Cody to talk about an upcoming event that I think he's very proud of.
Yes.
Cody, do you want to let council know about that?
You can, Mayor. That's fine. You can update them.
Just like the chamber forum.
I know, it was your idea, but Cody's team came up with a great idea, even though the splash pad has been officially shut down for the season, and we understand that it'll be reopened, certainly not this weekend because of the weather, inclement weather coming in. But on the 25th, when we have the fall festival that's scheduled, the splash pad will be open. And then on the 26th, the Sunday, they're going to open up the splash pad for a very special event that they've dubbed the Canine Kerplunk. So everybody is welcome to bring their dog to the splash pad for one last romp through the splash pad, at which point afterwards they'll close it down and do the deep clean that they have to do on it to make it winter ready anyway. So that'll be a fun thing. I know a lot of people want to bring their dog down and enjoy the splash pad too. I get it right, Cody?
Nailed it.
You did. And you can thank Public Services Committee as well for they helped with that idea. So
Very good. All right, great idea. Okay, then. Thank you, Michael. We'll go on to City Council reports. We'll start with Councilmember Carmody.
I don't have a lot to report. Intercity Transit voted to make COVID vaccination mandatory for all of its employees. That was very controversial, but it was a unanimous vote of the authority because they're very much a forward-facing, public-facing group of people, including the drivers. So, and there's been some pushback, obviously, but hopefully things are going okay. You know, it's a controversial issue. Other than that, Cody covered a lot of what we did in the Public Services Committee, and I think it was actually our new employee Stephanie's idea to make the canine kerplunk. That was her idea. And what else? Oh, we did talk about opening the splash pad. Instead of cutting off the temperature at 80 degrees, I think we took it down to 75. You know, depending on weather, obviously, because there's a lot of kids that really are still going to be out there at 75. But you know, anything below that, and that water gets awfully cold. Especially, you know, even if it's 70 degrees outside, your water is going to be like 50 something. So it's super duper cold and not many kids enjoy that. I think that's about it. That's about all we did talk about a lot of the current projects that the city is going to be doing, and some external projects, meaning projects that are not being done by the city, but that we have eyes on. You know, independent contractors and stuff are doing different projects around the city. So we're keeping eyes on those. I think that's all I have. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Curry.
Well, as usual, I've been to the farmer's market all the time. I'm gonna miss it when it shuts down for the season. Had a fire commission meeting last week, and they were kind of feeling they may hold off on the bond for the fire station at Lord's Lake. The new assessments for property came out. I'm sure everybody got theirs, and mine went up astronomically. But anyhow, now they're up against the deadline. They've got about 30% of the firefighters do not want to be vaccinated. However, some of them have changed their mind and have started to, and they're seeing other people that have gotten COVID, that it's not good. And their call volume has gone up enormously the last month, 12%. They can't attribute it to anything.
Across the board, huh?
Yeah, everything. And that's it.
All right.
Oh, and the senior center had their September birthday day party today.
Happy birthday to them.
Only the September people.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith?
All I have is I went to the general government committee meeting and we just kind of briefly talked about the contracts. So that's all.
Councilmember Wood? Thank you. And clerk, please show that Councilmember Wood joined us at 6:12 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did not attend any external meetings, therefore I have no report. Thank you.
Councilmember DePinto?
Thank you, Mayor. And sorry for earlier, my internet must have been a little wonky, but kind of going off of what Councilman McCarmy talked about and Michael Graham talked about regarding the Public Services Committee. The only thing I wanted to do is just update a little bit more about some of those specific projects, including Cochran Park, which you touched on a little bit. One of the things that we are waiting on, though, is for those plans to establish, which I thought was kind of interesting, but it makes sense that you don't want to trample on those plants just beginning to sprout up and before they're all mature. So makes sense. Looking forward to the opening at the end of the month. Talked a little bit about the St. Martin's class at, St. Martin's University's class that is helping the city on a few different projects. It's a great way for them to get their credits. It also helps out the city tremendously by giving us some good project plans. And that's including pavement restoration, city park planning, including the dog park. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for them to do it and for us to get the benefit of it, to reap the benefits of it. And also the Mosman Avenue project, it's moving from the right-of-way phase to construction phase. That should happen soon. November 19th is when the bids will open up. And that's that project right by the golf course where it's going to connect Mosman and the ones right behind the apartment. It'll go cut across what's currently the golf courses, I think the 17th hole. We didn't necessarily get a presentation from WSDOT regarding that roundabout near Walmart, which we discussed. We did hear the justification, though, from the city's perspective. And I do think it's still worthwhile to have that conversation and consider alternatives. I get where the city is coming from and WSDOT is, but practicality, I think there's going to be a lot of people who need to turn left rather than going all the way around that roundabout. But I'm looking forward to having that conversation during our next study session. And lastly, we discussed about with the school opening up that Coates Road as a exit. It's technically a left and a right turn lane as the parent-student drop-off is. It's kind of exacerbating the issue with that intersection, Coates Road and Crystal Springs. They are trying to limit the left turns, I hear. The school is trying to mitigate that issue, but it's still causing some backups. Some of it might be because of COVID with more people dropping people off rather than riding the bus, but it's one thing to consider. And I hope we do find a longer term solution for that, which there are some projects that Public Works have been, or excuse me, the Public Services Committee's been discussing. So I'm looking forward to some resolution on that. And that's all I've got. Glad to see the Seahawks win.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kaminsky?
I didn't have any meetings since the last meeting. I was invited by a couple of the ladies from the Arts Commission to join them for lunch and talk about how I could help them with integrating my project with their project, but sounds like I'll just be attending their next meeting in October. And I did attend a TCRA, Thurston County Real Estate Association luncheon with some of the candidates. They invited us. There was another lady from Yelm that came, and they endorsed several people from Olympia. So that was a very nice meeting. And as some of the other ladies here too, I think were asked to judge at the Harvest Festival pageant. I got that invite and I'm excited about that. So I'll be doing that next weekend. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you for that. By the way, I've asked our communication specialist who does the arrangements with the organizers of events that are held at City Park to make sure that in working with LaDonna on the fall festival, that as much as possible, there's signage and the vendors all understand that we may be close to that 500 mark where people should be encouraged to wear their masks even when outside. And particularly, we want to protect the children who may be attending because there's an opportunity for them to have their picture taken with Disney characters. And so the exposure rate is going to go up considerably. And the numbers coming out from Thurston County are the greatest increase in the number of positive cases of COVID are in the ages of 0 to 11, birth to 11. They've gone up astronomically in the last couple of weeks. So LaDonna has promised that they will make it as safe an event as possible, and we look forward to a great weekend festival. And thank goodness it's not this weekend. So with that, I will move into, and thank you, Council, for making this a short meeting. And I'm about to ruin that because it was a particularly busy last couple of weeks for me. On August 26th, I met with Representative Beth Dolio in her role as president of the Parks Foundation of Thurston County, which stands for Parks, Arts, Recreation, and Culture. And that organization has been helping smaller communities in Thurston County with those types of projects. So I've introduced them to Cody Colt, and he's looking forward to working with them on some potential projects here in Yelm in the future. On the 27th, I was invited to join other community leaders from surrounding communities to have breakfast with Major General Brunson, the First Corps Commander, and we were joined by 10th District Congresswoman Strickland to discuss the issues around the base, which we focused on housing issues, which is also a big concern of ours here in Thurston County. And the CG's concerns were that there's just not enough housing on base, and that some of the communities, and it's not Yelm, but some of the communities have rather high rent pricing that causes it to be difficult for the soldiers and airmen to afford off-base housing. So we're working together to try to find some solutions to those things, including the DoD's responsibility to add some more on-base housing. They admit that. But we're going to work for opportunities to give incentives to local builders to provide more stock for people to afford housing in the region. On September 2nd, I met with Elizabeth Retschneider from the Thurston County Chamber to reinforce the importance of Yelm and the regional economy. They are committed, as with Olympia and beyond, where the giant Y and beyond stands for Yelm, and other economic drivers in Thurston to be mindful of the amenities that small cities like Yelm provide for the rest of the county. And they're committed to promoting that, which is good. On September 2nd, I was invited to attend a very unique Victory in Japan Day ceremony in Tumwater put on by the Daughters of American Revolution, commemorating the historical importance of that day and the ending of that global conflict. I was asked to speak during the event and provided the perspective that to truly honor the sacrifice and commitment of all those who brought peace to the world then, by working together now, perhaps we can prevent the need for new memorials in the future. On the 4th, I chaired the TRPC meeting. On the 8th, I attended the Lexipol Conference on Risk Management Subjects. And the big takeaway from that conference was that it's clear that since our involvement with Lexipol, Yelm PD has done a great job of working on their policies, beefing them up with that input from Lexipol, and which puts us many steps ahead of some of the legislative changes that other departments are just now struggling with. So it was a really good thing for us to join up with Lexipol a couple of years ago. And then today, I attended the Yelm Chamber. Unfortunately, I was the only elected official that attended the chamber meeting today. It was a great presentation by Superintendent of Schools Wharton on how it's gone for putting the kids back in school this year, which we were all very pleased to hear. It went great. Very few problems. The staff and the teachers and staff are all able to meet the demands. The kids are coming in great numbers. They have great attendance, and they're looking forward to having a successful school year. And that is my report. Thank you for your attention. Wraps us up. Anybody?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Curry. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Have a good week.